But this is why I'm in community, because I would otherwise be blind to know what those things might be, or to know that I might be misperceiving what I think the things are. Because I don't know if anyone's ever been to like a carnival where they have those fun house mirrors and they make you look all weird.
Yes.
That we see ourselves weirdly most of the time. And so we might see something as wrong or not good or not working that someone else can find the benefit in or the beauty of. And if you're not in community, if you don't have these reflectors, these mirrors around you in the form of support, coaching, community, peers, people who are ahead, people you can contribute to, because it can be helpful both ways.
Yes.
Then you'll likely get stuck in that funhouse maze.
Welcome to the Osumaré Learning Podcast, where genius is celebrated, joy is the catalyst, and we learn most deeply by teaching what lights us up. I'm Portia Osumaré, executive learning producer, curriculum designer, and former high school math teacher, and lover of all things wisdom.
And I'm Portia Michele Osumaré, client experience designer, business coach, joy strategist, and a lifelong learner of the sacred and the strategic. Together, we're excavating wisdom from our brightest and most brilliant friends and partners, gaining insight that transform how we learn and how we teach in today's world.
So join us as we offer insights, community wisdom, and unique perspectives on experiential learning. So welcome to the show.
Hello, and welcome to the Osumaré Learning Podcast. My name is Portia Michele Osumaré. We've got Portia Osumaré here as well, holding us down for yet another State of 2026 podcast. And this time around, we are talking about your money. We are in the finance area of business. Interestingly enough, the newest area of business to be added. There was 6 areas of business, y'all, before there was finance. And Portia actually was like, so we're not actually doing any of these things. And I think that we should be doing them. And I was like, oh yeah, maybe we need to actually add a whole area of business that just talks about the money. Because how is it not one of the most important things that us as business owners always have to have conversations about? But this podcast is going to be all about that. And we have our finance support squad member, you get to be the dean of the finance area, because this is you at the curb. That gets all of our finance questions, because Jacent is our expert inside community that is holding us around finance. And today we are going to be having a conversation with Jacent around what we want you all to be focusing on next year when it comes to your money. We're going to talk about some trends that we see that are happening currently with our clients and really in community and in, the broader market. And we're also going to talk about some ways that you can prepare yourself to be better equipped to have your arms around your finances this 2026. Let this be the year that you stop avoiding it like I did, and we grab our arms around our monies in 2026. But before we get all into the tea, before I introduce Jacent, I want to let you all know when I say finance, what it is that I actually mean by that. So in simple layman's terms, the finance area of business is all about how you're managing your money. While yes, I feel like the decisions that you make in the leadership area of business really involve how you go get more money. And so the financial area of business speaks a little bit about how you get the money, but the real mastery is what you do with it once you have it. What happens in the managing of it? Where does it need to go? Does it go to the vendors? How do you pay yourself? All of those decisions that get made around how to make sure that money is working for you in your business and in your life. That is what we mean by the finance area of business, because we find when you don't have those things intact, it messes with every other area. So we're going to be having a conversation about that today, again, with our expert, Miss Jacent Wamala. Jacent, welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being our expert, because girl, it was dark over here before you came.
Oh my gosh, I'm sure you guys are doing great, but it never hurts to ensure that you're talking about money, like you mentioned, and that there's clarity and consistency in that conversation, just because it is always evolving and there's always something to, make sure to tighten up or to learn or to optimize. So I'm glad to be able to serve.
Love you so, and I'm so glad. You're so sweet to say that we're doing great. Was not doing great. And I think I represent a lot of entrepreneurs that was just actively avoiding thinking about it at the level of anything more than survival, just because of how overwhelmed I was on what there is to do. And so I want to kind of give you, obviously Jacent has been an expert that I've been leaning on to for the few months that we have known one another. Community has adored Jacent. Jacent has one of those calls where people come off and text me and be like, I was in Jacent's office hour, and I'm like, yeah girl, we're learning so much. Let me tell the people a little bit about why I love Jacent's expertise, particularly when it comes to this conversation, because there's lots of financial experts, but I think that the lens that Jacent comes from is really beneficial to contribution focused leaders and entrepreneurs that are navigating that space. So let's read you the receipts. Jacent Wamala is a retired licensed marriage and family therapist turned wealth and wellness coach, an award-winning podcast host, and self-published author whose work has been featured in the New York Times, in People, in the Today Show, and Good Morning America. Originally from Uganda and now based in Las Vegas, Jacent Wamala's path to financial empowerment became after a divorce and the loss of her father left her facing a mountain of debt. Despite not growing up with much financial guidance, she paid off more than $94,000 in student loans and credit card debt in just 3 years before turning 30. That journey revealed something profound. Money and mental health are inseparable. Since then, Jacent has helped hundreds of people around the world manage their money with confidence, eliminate debt, save thousands, and most importantly, create peaceful, prosperous lives for themselves and their families. Her mission is powerful and deeply personal, helping people build wealth for themselves and their kids without burning out. So y'all can hear, right, lens with which we're going to be having this conversation. It is mental health focused. It is thinking about how you think about and how you be about your money and not just what we do about it, right? And it is coming from a lens of somebody who actually did it. Not saying we all have a story arc of where we would want to get with it, but Jacent has been in these streets actually getting the results, not only for herself, but for her clients. One of the things I love about just like me even learning about Jacent is like watching Jacent stories and watching people be like, I paid off this much this month. Here's how I did this piece. Oh, I saved this much. I was able to pay for this vacation. The receipts are there. And Jacent is that girl. And I so appreciate you, Jacent, for coming in and honestly supporting our community and being a part of this conversation. I want to throw to you, lead us in and letting us know, what is it that you are seeing for the people as we are coming into 2026? What do we need to be thinking about? What are the things that we really need to be maybe even learning a little bit more about? Tell me what you see coming down the pipe for us.
So everything that I say is going to come from two sides. There's going to be the psychological side, and then there's going to be the tactical side. And so when you ask the question, tactically, I say we need to know our numbers. We need to understand what's happening so that we're able to make, better informed, data-driven decisions. However, I can say that, and that's probably what a lot of like financial advisors say. We have to understand there's a psychological component to why we don't know the numbers in the first place. And you already mentioned, right, that it's very easy to avoid because it's one of those things that doesn't seem like it requires our upfront attention the way that so many other things in our life do. And so then we just allow it to fall to the bottom of the to-do list, and then days go by, weeks, months, years go by, and we haven't really taken the time to sit in our finances and figure out where we are. Kind of like when you're at like an amusement park or something like that, or a mall, and they have this map and it's like, you are here. But so many people don't know where they're at on the map. Yeah. And so how can you get to where you want to go? All of us have a vision or a goal. You can't get there without knowing where you are to figure out which route you need to take. And so in the state of things right now and going into the new year, it's really important to be courageous, I'll say. And if it's about needing support in that process, finding whatever that support could look like for you to face your finances or the fear of your finances so that you can get the clarity of what the numbers are going to tell you. I say the numbers tell a story. And we don't have to add any value judgment to it. We don't have to let there be shame or embarrassment or, guilt around it. It comes up, but how do we allow the numbers to just be kind of like cold hard facts, and then to inform us on which direction that we get to move in as we're moving toward our goals. And so I think two sides. Know your numbers so you can make data-driven decisions. What comes up when I talk about you knowing your numbers? Why are you trying to avoid your bank accounts and your statements and your profit and loss statements? That's something that might be an opportunity to dig into as well.
Ooh, I'm loving that. And it's so interesting. Earlier this week, we were recording the State of the Soul work this year. And one of the things that came up so loudly as a part of next year's medicine is, releasing the fear of being with yourself, right? Like if we think about next year, this year in 2025, when we're recording this, right, is a 9-year, an ending of cycles, a mastery year. Then that means next year is a 1 year, right? We're starting a new conversation. But if we look at plants as an analogy, the 1 year is the year that the seed goes in the ground. It's not the year that the first sprouts come up. And so where's the seed hanging out? In the liminal space, in the darkness. And so many of us are so afraid to actually look at what's in the darkness. I think I really love what you said about like what comes up for you around not looking at your numbers, and can you be courageous in the face of actually looking at if there is some shadow stuff there. If there is some stuff that you need to work on with your therapist, if there is like beliefs or things that come up that actually may inform your actions, whether it's happening or not, whether it's conscious or unconscious. Just that when people typically come to you and they're just terrified to look at their stuff, what are some things that folks can do to start building that courage to kind of go like, maybe rip the Band-Aid off, or like what's your take on how you can begin a courageous journey with your money?
I do believe that someone can do it on their own to some extent if they're willing to kind of jump right in. But truthfully, what I found is that the easiest way is with support, whether that's community, whether that's, you just mentioned like work that you're doing with your therapist. Your therapist may not tell you how to budget, but talking to your therapist about what gets in the way of you looking at your numbers might alleviate or create space for your ability to do so. And so I just think, and the research supports, right? When you have accountability and someone knows what it is that you're doing or working on, and then if you have a meeting with someone who knows what you're doing, you literally increase your success rates. Over 65% when someone knows, over 95% when you have a meeting with someone. So to me, it's like, if that's the hack. You want the secret sauce? Get accountability and support. This is why there's office hours within the Business Cousins community. Because if I need help with systems, because I do, or operations, because I do, then I can go to the office hours for that. And that helps me to move so much faster than me trying to do it on my own. So do I think it's possible to do by yourself? Yes. But however, new self-help books are always coming out. So if self-help like truly worked, there would be no more books to write. There would be no more talks to give. I'm really a huge fan of community. I'm really a huge fan of like having some level of support to make it faster and easier for you to get results, because you don't have to be in pain. You don't try to fix your own, huge gash. Well, maybe some do. If you're like, what is it? Man versus wild. You're like doing your own stitches. Like otherwise, you're going to a doctor, you're getting some help. You're getting some help so that they can, step in to support you in that thing. So finance is such a deep topic and can run really much further than the numbers front facing, that I've just seen it work so much better when people have some level. So if it's your partner, if it's, a group, maybe if you have like certain spiritual beliefs, maybe there's like some support there, a book club, something, just whatever it is, what is that accountability going to look like for you?
Oh, I love that. And I think that one, you heard Jacent say, come and bring yourself to office hours. That's one accountability you can do pretty quickly. And Jacent loves us so much, she does it twice a month. We give thanks. The need is high. But I think also it speaks so much to what it is that we are learning about the next couple of decades that are going to be really communally oriented. I think you're right. I think our hyper individualism has only gotten us so far. It is going to be the creation of what collectivism looks like that doesn't have you lose yourself in the collective. That is really the future of where we're going. And I think that particularly when I think about finance, as you were talking, I was like, I've read books on the information. I've watched YouTubes on the information, but it wasn't until I was sitting in front of you and you said it that there is a certain way that it landed. And I think that in more than other areas of business in the same way, hearing other people talk about even what they're struggling in financially or what decisions they're making financially has really opened my eyes to what I don't know that I don't know. And you can't know everything about what you're not an expert in, but hearing somebody say like, oh yeah, girl, I've saved this way, this is how I do. I was like, you could do that? Oh, like it just never occurred to me that I could do that in that way, because we all, particularly, if you have a small team, right? Or if it's just you and like, a VA, or you and a team of less than 5, or a mostly contractor team, team. Everything is so nuanced about each situation that it would be impossible to know every single thing that's going to come down the pike for you. Most of us are flying the plane as we're on it, but hearing other entrepreneurs talk about it, and particularly hearing someone with expertise give a bit of a bird's eye view when you're this close to it, like my hand's very close to my face, right? When you're very, very close to it, you may not be able to see what someone could see that just isn't as emotionally attached as you, right? It's like, oh girl, you leaving a bag over here, go pick it up. There's something really powerful about that, particularly with the extra shame riddled things. One of the best ways to reduce shame is community, right? One of the best ways to increase vulnerability is to watch somebody else be vulnerable. It gives you permission to be a little bit more vulnerable, right? Like when the minute you say like, girl, I ain't paid my taxes, and somebody's like, oh, there's 5 of us. And you're like, oh my God, I'm not a failure, right? Like it's those, I think finances, a lot of those words can, not so much the words, but like the way that we describe it can hold so much weight that people are so afraid to even let the word escape their mouth. Safety in people really brings, I think, that. Jacent, tell me what else it is that you feel like you're seeing, or any reflections off that.
So the first thing, right, we're talking about is clarity, because we really can't do much without that. You can't go to a party if you don't have the address. So having the clarity helps you to action plan. The next one, because I love kind of like a little 3 situation. I love words starting with the same.
Bring us a framework, sister. Bring us a framework.
I can't help myself. So the first is clarity. The second is compass. So you can only get direction when you have clarity on which way you want or need to go. What is your compass? What is it that is going to essentially, right, inform you going from here to this step? And what we're flying the plane while we're in it. So we may not know. I'm going to say this again, y'all, because some of us really like to understand the full path to the thing before we move. We may not know every single step that has to happen to get to where we want to go. We may need to start with receiving or gaining clarity on where we're at first, and then taking whatever the next step is, which actually, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, even though we probably shouldn't be eating elephants. First off, but if we did, we would do it one piece at a time. So I think it actually is well designed in that way, that if you are in fog, I was driving back from Arizona recently and it was so rainy and terrifying. I survived, but it was like, I can only look so far in front of me, and I have to just do what's right in front of me. And it may be a season with a lot of uncertainty in other areas of business or other areas of life, to focus on what's right in front of you when you have been informed by clarity that you received by the numbers, by the data. So the compass is the second thing, and that's really going to tell you which way to go. Because a lot of people are like, where do I start? How do I do it? These questions that come up around direction. And when I hear those questions, I'm thinking like, well, do we have clarity first? Because sometimes we're building a bridge to a place we don't even want to go. We don't realize. So the 9-year ending and things coming to a close, it doesn't necessarily feel great all the time, but it might be an opportunity to revisit what we actually want, honestly, so that we are building the right bridge to the right place. So we are getting the compass that's going to take us in the right direction, because otherwise we're going to build to this thing and be successful at it eventually, and then we're going to say, that's it, because it wasn't what we actually wanted. And so I think that, once you are informed by the clarity, then you can start looking at creating the plan so that you can proceed as needed. But for the perfectionists, or for the folks that get analysis paralysis, or for the folks that have imposter syndrome, or for the folks, I don't know who I'm talking to today,
hello,
including myself, because I will be the first to say I am not perfect, that we may need to just take whatever that next step is, which it might be looking at your numbers, saying, hey, I need to talk to my therapist about this. Oh, I need to join Business Cousins, or bring it up in whatever community that I feel safe within to start having this conversation. Yeah, so I don't know if that helps kind of answer like the next phase of things is, okay, well, once you have clarity, what do you do? That will inform where you go. There's frameworks. What I've noticed is like, you have to be clear on which season you're in your finances, in your business, because sometimes you'll receive information or feedback or advice from someone who's in a different season, and it doesn't mean what they said doesn't work. It means it's not the season for you to do that thing. So that's why slowing down to get kind of like an aerial view of where you are will let you know. There's a financial stages of change I talk about. Whether you're in pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, maintenance, or relapse. So you can't act if you are in contemplation. Those two things don't go together. You can't maintain if you never prepared. So it's really about making sure that the information that you're implementing is aligned with where you're actually at in your journey, because otherwise that's where we start hitting our head up against the wall, start telling ourselves there's something wrong with us, or why isn't this working for me? Because oftentimes we're just trying to act on something that may not be aligned with the season that we're in. So what season are you in, and what are you doing that's aligned in that season for you to be able to make progress in your finances?
Ooh, I love that so much. I love that you said a word there. And especially in regards to the first, there's so many pieces. What are the two that I'm gonna highlight? The first one is the stability conversation. I feel like at this point, because it's now happened, like we've talked about it like 4 times this week, I feel like I'm now calling it a kink. Like the girls have a stability kink. Like those of us who came from corporate, those of us who have any sort of instability in our childhoods, those of us who are used to a 9-to-5 check and us feeling whole and well around a 9-to-5 check, when we move into entrepreneurship. And honestly, quiet as it's kept, the corporate girlies are here as well, because we done already seen that stability, it may not be our portion for the next decade. Like it just may not. And to be fair, true stability is your ability to stay the tree that is the calm in the storm, truthfully. So if we're looking for real stability, the social work girls would tell me that's an inside job, not an outside job. Like you have so little control over your outside circumstances that if you're looking to them for stability, you're going to be cruising for a bruising. However, I think that there's something so powerful there about the genuine power and agency over making the next right step, rather than feeling like I must know every element before I move and then I will make an action or a decision, and not realizing that most of the learning and growth happens along the way. And the longer you wait to start, the longer you wait to grow. And the person you are in year 3 in your business is not the person you're going to be at year 10 in your business. So make a decision that makes sense for year 3 and make a decision that's going to be aligned with that. And I love what you said. Take advice from people who are where you are, and or this is why you be in community, so that you can get a varied breadth of bouncing things off of people who maybe are a couple steps from where you are, and kind of get some things that are around your phase, so that you can help to see where it is that you can find yourself. I think it's so interesting to know, it's difficult to know where you're going without knowing exactly, like you said, where you are. And I think I love what you said as well about the idea of helping to kind of self-identify what that phase is, and let it be okay that a contemplation phase doesn't have action. Can we stop making ourselves wrong for not being somewhere that you feel like is so much faster than the actual place you are? Because there's magic where you are. Like there's a benefit into where you are, and where you're going actually requires for you to be a little bit more present where you are and learn that lesson, so you don't carry it into where you're going. And I think business can be so beautiful if you allow yourself to develop along the way, rather than always trying to race toward being at the end of the journey, then missing the medicine of the journey. I think that there's something so powerful about that, even as we're talking about finances. So powerful about that. Give me an idea as you let us down. Tell me what's in our third pillar, as we are kind of looking at the last kind of couple of things that may round out that conversation.
Conviction. Because one of the biggest questions I get asked is around motivation, like how to stay motivated in your financial journey, how to stay motivated at all. And we're asking the wrong question, because motivation is kind of like the ignition of a car. You only turn the ignition once in order to drive it. That turning of the ignition fires off all of the pistons, and I don't know much about cars, but all the things, the mechanisms,
the electrical thing is happening, it goes
that make it go. Okay, so we really want to be thinking, what is going to build momentum? And momentum is built through conviction. So if you're a business owner, if you're listening to this, I'm assuming you're convicted about something. That's why you started a business. You saw there's a problem. You're saying you have a unique solution to this problem, or else you wouldn't have felt a need to start the business. And so I think business owners being able to return to the conviction they have about how they serve, and understanding how the money is intricately tied to their ability to follow through on the impact that they want to have. And so while it may not be the funnest thing to focus on or to do, when you recognize that the more that the finances of my business are dialed in, the more people I can help. the more that I reduce stress and pressure and anxiety and depression around the money stuff, the more availability and bandwidth I have to show up more enthusiastically with my clients or on sales calls. I'm selling from a different place. I'm serving and marketing from a different place. And so when there is a lot of instability or uncertainty in other areas, I do believe that it is a way that you can create a certain level of certainty in your finances when you take the time to start looking at things and getting the clarity of what your numbers say. Because your number's going to tell you a story, and then you get to decide what you want to do with that. That'll give you your compass. And then how are you circling back to the conviction of why you started this thing in the first place? And as someone who is not motivated most of the time, I will be transparent. Okay, I'd rather stay in bed. I would rather do nothing. So as a person who can speak from a place of not being motivated most of the time, when I wake up, I'm not excited to get out of bed most of the time.
Heard.
Returning to what I get to do, because it's such a privilege to be a business owner. It is such a privilege for folks to trust us, to listen to our messaging and to potentially join our mission, to serve them in a way. Like, even if your last client you didn't get since a year ago, wow, like that person trusted you and you've already validated the offer. If you're in the process of building and you hear people talking about the things that they're struggling with in the comments of social media posts or whatever, and you haven't even sold anything yet, what a privilege it is to be able to have the opportunity to serve, even if you've sold nothing yet. And if you are on the side where you've already scaled, you're making buku bucks, you've got plenty of receipts and testimonial, don't forget the privilege that you have to be where you're at, to serve people. And so I think when you get convicted, it gives me goosebumps, which is like in my human design, my sacral something or other. When I start talking about it, I'm like, heck yeah, I can't wait to get on this podcast today. I got to tell the people what's going on. Even though I'm under the weather, it's not about me. It's about being able to show up for others. And so I think that the finances come in a bundle of the things that we get to look at and do and manage as we are creating this greater impact for the people that we want to serve. Anyone who has started their business because they care about folks, and I'm assuming that's who is listening to this.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get kind of caught up and distracted in other things when at the end of the day, that's what it's really all about. And that's what's going to keep you motivated, keeping the momentum built over the course of time to, okay, it's Friday. We look at our finances on Friday. You better have a testimonial wall. You better have, when I hit this revenue goal, then I'm going to be able to do Giving Tuesday from my business in this way. Or when I create incentive, like gamify it for yourself, how can you cultivate conviction in your finances as a business owner that help for you to garner some level of momentum and maybe even fun and exciting? Dare I say, finances could be fun, okay?
I mean, the Osumaré Learning Podcast is brought to you by two sponsors that are near and dear to our hearts, because we built them. First up, Business Cousins. Business Cousins is a collective of called to serve leaders who are building businesses that create impact that actually matters. We're about doing real good in the world, giving people the results they paid for, and having a damn good time doing it. If you're into running a business that you actually love, hanging out with smart and soulful folks while you do it, and being supported every step of the way, this may be the room for you. We host gatherings, workshops, and offer ongoing business development support that's as human as it is helpful. If you're interested, apply today at thebusinesscousin.com. Check us out at www.thebusinesscousin.com. And then there's the Author's Leverage. That's our studio for turning your body of work into powerful learning tools. Whether it's digital workbooks, private podcasts, or binge-worthy education content that helps you scale your impact without burning out, we specialize in transforming complex ideas into accessible, engaging learning experiences that your audience will actually use and implement. Our team of expert creators, instructional designers, and production specialists ensure that your wisdom reaches more people in the ways that truly resonate. If you're an expert, author, or thought leader sitting on brilliance, let us help you package it. Learn more at theauthorsleverage.com. That is theauthorsleverage.com. I'm obsessed with cultivated conviction. I should have told y'all in the beginning. I forget every time. This is going to be one that you want your paper and pen. It's going to be one you want your paper and pen. You're going to want to write down the quotables. You're going to want to pull some of these pieces out. I think there's so much there. The idea of making it a vibe. what better way to honor the privilege that it is to walk in the work that you do than to enjoy it with your full self? And I think that a lot of us, you'll spend so much time figuring out a marketing plan that you don't hate, but you won't make time to be on a money date that makes sense for you. Right? Like, what are the things that would incentivize you to do it? And I love that you said my sacral thing, you're another, because both of us are students of Ilona and her human design conversation. And I also think that there's something really available in the idea of making it a vibe. There's something available for using things like astrology or numerology or human design to figure out how you're wired, to figure out how to make something more delicious for yourselves. And learning, about my human design, there's a prosperity line. And it turns out that I am a person where most of my manifestation around money only happens when I look at the money every day. You can imagine how long I've been avoiding it. And now that it's like, and one of the things that comes along with that was like feeling safety in my body when I look at the money. And I was like, I ain't never good, bad, or indifferent. And it gave me something to work on. And now, interestingly enough, right, like I'm making different decisions about how I spend time with the money. And it is something that, if you're going to make all this time to make so many things in your life sacred, why not make that sacred? Because like you said, it is one of the literal single accesses to your ability to make impact on yourself, your family, and the things that really matter to you. It is paramount in that process, in your ability to actually be able to scale your ability to serve. And the truth of the matter is, it's not just about people paying you for something. It's about the fact that they have invested in their own healing through you. And the more investments that they make, the more healing can exist on the planet because you made the time to be convicted about something enough to make it important. There's such a word there, Jacent, around that. And it reminds me of this current move that and I was like thinking about telling this story before we started this podcast, because I absolutely went to one of Jacent's workshops and was hearing her talk about, all of these different parts. And one of the little quiet conversations was around the data, really, and looking at your numbers and just generally looking at if there was a way to be able to reduce overhead. And I think as I start to get to know more about where I am at financially, right, I started to look at, what really matters to me and what would I really want in this year? How much would that cost? And about how much effort and energy am I wanting to put into scaling certain offers inside of my business to get there? And it actually turned out I didn't need to do more. I just would benefit from reorienting what I already had so that the time that I was spending ended up paying me more back. And that looked like Portia and I consolidating houses and being in one house and really looking at the numbers and going, okay, I have a craving for more freedom in my business next year. One of the ways for me to do that is to have residual income that's available to be able to do the things that make me feel free. I could grow and scale my way there, or I could save my way there. And it was insane how little decisions needed to be made for me to be able to save my way there. And I blessed it as Jacent, because I was not having this conversation at all before even thinking about that. But it doesn't take much, for you to kind of let your brain, all of y'all are creative people, like getting in the right rooms will allow your brain to start creating around your circumstance. But it came down to not being afraid to look at the numbers. And it came down to kind of looking at, for me, the reality of what I want. One of the things I think is so important in 2026 also is to reevaluate your relationship with success and what does it actually look like. Because I think that the landscape, the truth of the matter is, and I'm interested in your thoughts on this also, Jacent, the truth of the matter is, for most of us, the landscape is getting more complex because money is moving in really interesting ways. People are getting it in ways they've never gotten it before, ways that consistently they could get it are no longer in place because the trust is so low in our world at the current moment in time. My bad, I started getting real dark. I said, wait a minute, where the light at? Okay. Because trust is getting so drastically reduced, people are making different buying decisions. And it's going to take us a while, honestly, for us to really wrap our brain around what our communities need to be able to make dynamic offers that most of us to get around. Because especially, I don't know if you're feeling this, but in the last couple of years since the pandemic, because we've spent so much time being online, we have such a disconnect between us and our people. And because of that disconnect, those of us who make that gap a little bit closer have an easier way of being able to wrap our arms around the right now need of our people, and how to kind of create those offers that are a little bit more dynamic and those pivots that actually follow our people along with their own growth. But for most of us, that gap has been wedged. So it's going to take us a minute to figure out what's working in the market and test a little something here and test a little something there. When you testing, money is funny, and it ain't like, and I'm not saying, it's not going to be all of us, but at the very least, there likely is going to be some shift or change in how your money is either coming to you, through you, or needed for the business. It's a very good year to have a really good, strong restart as to how you kind of move into that. Just give me any of your thoughts on that, and on like the instability that likely is coming a little bit down the pipe. Maybe instability is a strong word.
Yeah, I think it's important to, when we're thinking about the landscape of this year, self-assess in, I don't know if I want to say in solitude, because the thing about it is, right, what we've noticed over the last 5 years, decade, is this crazy increase in information for all of us and marketing, that we don't even realize that the voices that are informing us are not even our own. And so when you said revisiting what success looks like, yes, because when did you create that definition of success? That might have been at a time where your life looked completely different. And so if there's never a time, and this is why I love the Business Cousins, right? Because you're taking time to slow down and talk about these things and assess and match it up against where you are today. My idea of success, even a year ago or 2 years ago, is different than what it is right now. And then how do we begin to accept the difference? If it was, different than what we thought it was going to be, allow ourselves to accept the timeline that might come along with that difference, even if the goal is the same, but it's like we have to push it out, or the way that we're going to get there has to be different. And if we never slow down to reevaluate our definition of success, and to me, an even better reframe on the idea of success is progress. Because if we zoom out and say if we say, well, how successful was I this week? Well, my kid was sick this week, so things looked a little bit different. I can give myself an F. But if I zoom out to a year or 2 years or 5 years or the last 10 years, however long I've been in business, to say, have I been consistently progressing? Have I been consistently learning? Have I been consistently refining? Have I been consistently helping people? Yes or no? That when I zoom out, I actually see this mountain-like, right, trajectory that shows that I am not where I used to be. Some of us trick ourselves into thinking that we're starting over, or even though it's going into a 1 year, it's not Men in Black where they click the thing and your memory is gone. You are taking into the 1 year all of the lessons that you learned, every failure that is really just feedback, every success that is a stepping stone for the next level. So we're never starting over. Even if I close my business down and start a new one, it's informed by everything that came before it. And so I think that the reevaluation of success and maybe reframing it as progress instead of perfection or position, like a place, that could be more conducive to our ability to play. Maybe we need to play more. Let's how can you play more and allow for the ability to experiment? But that's much easier. I can say that, but it's much easier said than done if you are stressed about how you're going to cover payroll, or where your next sales are going to come from. But the clarity of the numbers helps you to say, this is what has to happen. And then that can help you say, well, where can I play? Where in my business can I play and get back to a more light version of being able to go about being in business, because it's heavy. Finance can feel so heavy, and that heaviness can then follow you into everything, and it follows you into the marketing, and it follows you into the sales, and it follows you into the offer itself. So yeah, I love that you mentioned revisiting that definition. And I've had to talk to our family. My husband had a stroke 2 years ago, and I've had to talk to our 13-year-old and say, hey, we are in, and trying to be careful about words, that we're not broke or anything, but we're in a different season than we thought we would be in right now. We might be in a conservative season, we'll say, and to be able to be a model for her to know that things might happen in life that change how you move. And while we're thankfully able to still do a lot of the things that we used to do, there may be some things that look a little different than it used to, and we might need to do that in our business. We might need to cut costs. We might need to revisit certain subscriptions. We might need to scale back. We might need to, be more discerning. And it doesn't mean you're a failure if you have to let go of someone in the moment. It just means that you are really focused on taking care of the business long term, so that it's still around a year, 5 years, 10 years from now?
Ooh, there's such meat there. And I'm going to tell you, this is why you got to get you a therapist friend. Because the way that you redefine those words and wrenched it around, yes, that conversation around progress. And I think that conversation also around like it being okay to be honest with yourself that you may be in a conservative season, and it may not be a conservative season forever, and it may not be a conservative season because something is wrong. You may just be putting some stores to the side for a future that you may not know about. And to be honest, that's actually what makes you a better business owner, because the only goal in business, maybe two goals for me, if we're talking about contribution focused business, is to do real good in the world and to stay in business. That is the goal. It's to stay in business. And to be fair, not thinking about these things prevents you from that. And, I also heard behind what you said that some of us, particularly those of us who are a little neurospicy, you got to watch where you get your dopamine from. Because if you're getting your dopamine from a certain number being in your account every single certain moment in time, right? It's a good time to reevaluate, what are you making the number mean? What are you making the financial landscape mean about you? Because I think that there's a lot of work that could be done there that get you to the root of why your financial area, if it doesn't feel as broad to you, or you don't feel like you have as much acumen, or you don't feel like maybe you have as much control over some of those elements, it could be because there's something a little underneath the surface around kind of the ways in which that you are going about the money that may or may not be in accordance with your wellness. And it may not be in accordance with the person that you want to continue to be and how you would want to treat yourself. It's interesting because finance for so many of us can be such a loaded conversation. There's so many like quiet little things that can be happening in the background that unless you do some of this work, you won't even find. Right? It's kind of like it'll be driving behind the scenes without you even knowing that you're no longer there. You've gone asleep at the wheel, but you don't even necessarily know. I thought that really sparked for me as to what you were also just saying. And I think that there's also something there that I want people to really give themselves permission for, is that, all things happen in seasons. And the season that we are seeing in business right now is not unlike any other season we've ever had before. This happens, right? People who've been in business since 2008, you know what I mean? People who've been in business since 1995, you know what I mean, right? And I mean, like somebody told me the other day, girl, do you know I've been in business since before there were websites? I said, you know what? I imagine you done seen some things financially, right? And again, if the goal is to stay in business, knowing how as a business owner to ride certain waves is a skill set that is incredibly important and worth learning. And this is a good year to grow it. Something else I heard in what you said, Jacent, like behind some of the things that you said that I think are really important to highlight, is this is a very good season to get in tune with your faith conversation around your finances. The truth is, you may not always be able to see what XYZ next is coming. But if you are doing what you are aligned to do, you will be given the provision to do that thing. It may not happen as fast as you want it. I love that you said that about timelines, because I'll be sure not to gonna smack y'all. Like, look, you can't always quantum leap. Not everything is a quantum leap. Not everything.
Now I'm starting to take this personal.
Look, I have my quantum leap moments, but I remember when Spirit dropped it in my ear real loud, and it sounded like an auntie. It was like, y'all gonna be out here trying to quantum leap a character you don't have, and you ain't gonna be able to hold it. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna tell people that, because that's for me.
You're right.
Because you can manifest something. Holding it is different. And a lot of the hard-won lessons of going, I don't know where XYZ next is coming from, but I have faith that it's going to happen because I'm doing the right things. I'm being good. I'm doing my good in the world. I'm actually looking at my stuff, and I have no idea what next is going to happen, but I know Spirit, God, Source, whatever you call the energy that created you, is going to provide this next X thing. That skill set is necessary in uncertain times, and I can only promise you more uncertainty as we moving forward. We're just in a time where the world is changing so fast that the amount of certainty that we've had before is just not the same. And we've got to remember that the being able to be okay with with the dark liminal space and still have faith that something else is coming is also a business skill set. Is also a skill set worth knowing as much as your QuickBooks. Is also a skill set worth knowing as much as how you deliver for your clients, because it's going to be necessary as business owners that are actually going to stay alive in this next season. Because a lot of us are going to drop, and it's going to be for us to drop, and that's okay too. The journey that you are on in your life is yours, and no one's going to make it wrong if you don't. Truthfully, at the end of the day, right? I think that it's imperative to allow yourself the permission to let your life unfold the way that it's meant to. And sometimes that doesn't look like what you quote unquote planned 5 years ago. Now's a good year to go, okay, blank slate. What can I create for myself? Like, as much as you can, like Jacent said, in carrying that wisdom of the last couple of years with you. Because, you don't necessarily have to look at it like you've got no wisdom going into a blank slate. A blank slate is a beautiful thing if you have some ideas about where you want it to go. And if you don't, that's what communities are for. That's what support partners are for. That's what experts are for. This is a good year to, at the very least, evaluate where you're at. Like, there's a GPS there also of like where you're at in relation to all that.
Almost threw my pen across the room. So everything you're saying is so good. And one of the things that I'm saying behind what I'm saying is you need to do your own work. You need to do your own work because you take you into your business. So whatever comes up as a bottleneck in your business will likely be the mirror of something that you might need to address in yourself. And I say this as a person who has things to work on. Okay?
Yeah.
But this is why I'm in community, because I would otherwise be blind to know what those things might be, or to know that I might be misperceiving what I think the things are. Because I don't know if anyone's ever been to like a carnival where they have those fun house mirrors and they make you look all weird.
Yes.
That we see ourselves weirdly most of the time. And so we might see something as wrong or not good or not working that someone else can find the benefit in or the beauty of. And if you're not in community, if you don't have these reflectors, these mirrors around you in the form of support, coaching, community, peers, people who are ahead, people you can contribute to, because it can be helpful both ways.
Yes.
Then you'll likely get stuck in that funhouse maze, focused on things that don't even matter. So that's where I think, if nothing else, is like, what does your work look like in this season? Because the more you're doing your work, the more wealth you'll be able to create. To me, wealth starts with wellness. And at the end of the day, if you were in your best spirit, in your best, physical form, in your best mindset, how would you show up for your work? How would that inform the way that you feel to people? And I think more than anything, especially because of the advancement of AI and technology, people want to feel what's real.
That and that. You're going to make me throw something across the room. When I tell you the nail in that, and what a year to do it. It is one thing when you need to be doing all of these things and none of the collective energies are going in that direction. All of the collective energies are going to be here for you to reintroduce yourself, for you to reinvent yourself, for you to reimagine what your freedom looks like. One of the things I kept saying over and over in the last couple podcasts is imagine yourself free this year. This is a good year to imagine yourself free. All of the energies are going to be helping you to do everything that Jacent and I are having this conversation around, and it is so important you pick up the mantle, because like Ilona has been telling us for a year, ain't nobody coming to save you, and the next 10 years are going to show you everywhere that they aren't. And that doesn't mean that collective communal gathering isn't the thing, because it is, but it is a community and it is a collective that considers you as a part of that community and that collective. It doesn't mean, and it is removing the savior complex, because at the end of the day, even my healers out here, you don't heal nobody. People heal themselves in your presence, and that is it, and that is all. And so the truth is, you also have to do that for you. No one's going to come and do that work. No one's going to come and do that work. And I think that what's so interesting, especially if you're an entrepreneur with a team of less than 5, everything about the work that you're running from is in your business. I can find it, like you said, every time. Somebody sit down and tell me, I'm having this issue. Very similar. Like there's a tactical conversation around that, and then there is an internal conversation around that, and so it is paramount, and it's so counterintuitive, I think, for a lot of business owners. It is paramount that you make space and prioritize doing your inner work, because it will show up in your business if you don't pay attention to it. And we are almost taught, again, we've got this mentality in our world that it says, well, I'm just going to work harder. There is no amount of running. You gonna come with you every time. There's no amount of running from that. Like, this is a good year to be brave enough to do your work. Very, very good year. Jacent, I absolutely adore you. And again, thank you so much for opening us up to this conversation. Any last things that you want to leave with the people? Any last, maybe, things that you're seeing that you're like, do this, don't do that, or stop, start, continues, anything that you want to, or even just, following up words, like last words to leave us with?
Yeah, like you mentioned, this is a season where, because of the wave of things happening, there will be people who catch the wave, and there'll be people who might get crushed by the wave. It is what it is either way. And there's beauty in being able to, like you said, accept whatever that trajectory looks like for you. However, if you are a person who feels a deep sense to catch the wave, then I would highly suggest that you figure out who you're going to surf with, because it's safer and it's more fun to do it with friends. And it's going to make your life so much more fulfilling. I don't even want to, I don't know if I want to say easier. It'll just make it more fulfilling. Like in a decade from now, when me and Portia are in person somewhere, having a nice something,
come on,
we'll be able to look back on this conversation as one of the things that we did in business. So to me, I just really think it's just so much more fulfilling. And so many people say business is lonely, and so many people say it's lonely at the top. It's only because you didn't go with anyone. It's only because you didn't take anyone with you. And so how can you begin to really revisit integrating relationships and support? And even if your family and friends aren't business owners, what does that integration look like there? If it is your business besties, what does that look like there? You do not have to live in isolation, be stuck and alone. Like, let this be the time that you're like, okay, well, I don't know if this is TMI, but this is where I'm at in my business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What I need, who can help a sister out with this? Or I just need your listening ears for this moment, or whatever. Like, where can we kind of like become more vulnerable with the people who are safe to do so with, to allow this to be that fresh start as we go into this new year and this new cycle and phase, cosmically, energetically, to catch the wave together.
Love and love. Anything that you want the people to stop doing, anything that we need to nip in the bud before 2026 takes you out.
Stop commingling funds. Okay. So let's got business bank accounts and we have personal bank accounts. So let's separate. This is the time, guys. Separate it out, okay? Making sure that we stop commingling funds. Having a plan for how we're going to approach things. Like, I've talked to a lot of people recently around like the tax conversation. Sometimes it's like we have to stop the bleeding, right? And we have to take care of what's happened, but we also have to have a plan so that we don't keep repeating this cycle moving forward. So profit first, you know what I mean? Like, stop operating without a financial structure, a clear strategic financial structure. I say it's like an umbrella. And profit first is one option, but you need to choose what that is going to look like for you, whether it's profit first or some other method. Do you boo-boo, but you stop just letting money come in and go out. And we need to have a financial, start somewhere. Pick up the book Profit First or something, whatever it is. If you need other recommendations, just start somewhere, create a structure. I talk to my students about money buckets when we talk kind of like about profit first. It's like money comes in one place, and then the money is flowing out to these other buckets that we need to fill, because those are the things that will keep you on this hamster wheel for the next decade if you survive in your business. Because, capital is the number one reason why people go out of business. So if you aren't managing your money, if you aren't creating a cohesive plan, and maybe this one might be a little bit interesting because I don't really talk about this much. Maybe stop being afraid of leverage. To some extent, when you have a strategic plan in place with community to ensure that you follow through on the plan you create. I'm not just saying go pull out business credit cards and get funding and then go crazy. I'm talking about being methodical in becoming the version of you that can use leverage to grow and scale your business if you are in the season to be able to do so with the right support. Because so many people that I talk to, they operate only on cash, which is great, which is a wonderful option. However, there's also so much money. Business loans, business lines of credit, like there is so much money out there to support business owners being able to grow and be, but you really don't want to play with the snakes in the grass if you have no financial structure and you have nothing in place. So that is a huge disclaimer.
And that's a really good thing to say, because I also think that you're right. So many of us are in that phase and just terrified of doing it. I'm like, oh, I'm not even, it's like another thing to just not look at, to just stay in an all cash scenario. And again, I think that really speaks to your point around like, know your phase. This is a calculus conversation. If you're in algebra, this is not for you, girl. But if you are in calculus and you've been here 3 years in a row, so how are we going, let's consider, right? Not being so afraid about that. I love that. Anything else in there, Jacent?
I think that's it.
Love. Look, the gems were dropped here. And again, because Jacent loves us so much, she hosts office hours twice a month. I'm gonna need y'all. If you've got questions about the reality of this for you, if you're like, yeah, that's all well and cute, but like, what about my finances? Come and ask Jacent these questions. And Jacent has so many resources, even outside of her participation in Support Squad with Business Cousins, that are available. I learned so much from Jacent because Jacent has produced for y'all. Jacent has served the people, has created the content, has put everything out that makes it very easy for you to also be able to start thinking about these things. So Jacent, I know the people are going to want to know more about where it is that they can get more support with you. Let us know where we can find you. And is there any other things that you've got going on that you want us to know about?
Yeah, so I'm most active on Instagram and YouTube, and it's my first and last name, Jacent Wamala. So that's the easiest places to find me. The nice thing about Instagram is that we can actually connect, and I am a human on the other side of this here device that can chat with you, and it is me like in my DMs and stuff like that. So I love being able to know like where you came from, and so if you came from listening to this podcast, I would love for you to send me a message. When you come to people's internet homes, speak to them. Don't be weird. You don't go to people's houses and not say hello.
Thank you for that.
I don't say hello first because I do my best to try to catch, who's coming in and be able to welcome you. Yeah, I do master classes on a regular basis on, the mistakes folks are making. So you're talking about the things not to do, the red flags, or the things you want to avoid. I'm constantly doing master classes on that. So when you come into my ecosystem, you'll likely see an opportunity for that to be like the best first place to start. And ask away. Like truthfully, I am so... outside of like taking care of my family, this is like my obsession. I could sit here for the next 6 hours without a break and talk about this because I'm so passionate about it. And I really do think that the world moving forward will be shaped by entrepreneurs heavily. And the more that we can empower entrepreneurs with a heart of contribution, with a heart of service, to be in a better financial position and to take money out of one of their worry buckets, like to close that tab out, makes it possible for you to show up more fully in your purpose and in your ability to impact the world. So I really believe the world is a better place when you are empowered in your finances. So please don't hesitate to reach out and say, hey, or ask whatever questions you might have, because I don't know it all, but I will likely know who to send you to, or what book to recommend, or what thing to take advantage of or look at. And I just like being a resource in that way too. And thank you for doing this, for having this podcast, for, being able to cultivate community in the Business Cousins. It means the world, and I'm grateful to be a part of it.
Girl, the pleasure is truly all mine. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for being our point person. Again, really a shining light in the conversation around community, particularly inside of Business Cousins. I think I told you that we took a couple of calls, and there were so many people struggling with the emotions around their finances. I was like, all right, y'all, we gotta call the humans. And you were the first person I thought of, and I'm still like blitzed that you said yes. So thanks so much for coming on and partnering with us in this conversation and loving on our people and loving on our community so much in this way, because it is such an interesting, an interesting topic that can be really loaded. And I also want to thank you all for listening. Those of you who have listened to this podcast, I want you to consider that this is one step that you made towards getting in better relationship with your finances this year. Thank you for listening. Thank you for learning. I hope that something that we said in this conversation sparked something for you, puts an action in place, place, put a goal in place. Go tell Jacent on her Instagram that you heard it over here and that you're going to do something about it, because we do love an accountability partner, okay? But we love you for listening. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful 2026 in the area of your finances. I am affirming that 2026 has the ability to be one of the best years of your finances if you will sit and be with you and them. Loving you so much for listening, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen and consider what was shared today. Thanks to our guests for sharing. Thank you to Portia for holding us in this container. And thank you for listening. We hope that something that was shared today sparks a new idea, inspires a new action, or creates something that you're excited to share with your community.
And thanks to Portia for leading this wonderful conversation and for bringing the vibe. Make sure to subscribe, share it with a friend, and hit us up on LinkedIn or Instagram. We want to hear what this sparks for you. So do us a favor, drop a review or leave a comment with what you thought.
All right, friends. We will see you next time on the Osumaré Learning Podcast. I'm already looking forward to it.
Me too.